Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to be discussing about the nervous system. Nervous system is a very important controlling and coordinating center which is there in our body. Our movements, our actions, each and everything which we perform are very beautifully controlled with the help of our nervous system. Nervous system maintains homeostasis, meaning it maintains internal stability. Without nervous system, it is highly impossible to maintain homeostasis. Nervous system helps to respond to stimulus, which is a very unique characteristic feature of living organisms. Stimulus refers to the changes which are happening in our environment, and relevant changes in the activities of an organism to a particular stimuli are called their reactions or responses. I will give you an example where you will be able to understand what is a stimulus and what is a response. All of a sudden, a bright light flashes onto your eyes. What do? So you immediately close your eyes. So here, the stimulus is going to be the bright light getting flashed onto your eyes, and the response is you closing your eyes. So for each and every stimulus which is happening around us, we will perform a particular response. So this is basically done with the help of our nervous system. So one thing that needs to come to your mind is, how is our body able to detect the stimulus, or how is it able to detect the changes which are happening in our environment? So our body helps to detect the stimulus with the help of receptors. So receptors help to find out the changes which are happening around us. I will list out to you a few receptors and their functions. Olfactory receptor. Olfactory receptor helps us to sense smell. Gustatory receptor is present in our tongue and it helps to sense taste. Thermoreceptor helps you to feel heat. Auditory receptors helps you to hear. And the tactile receptor helps you to feel the touch. So I hope all of you understood what is the meaning of stimulus, responses and receptors. Now let's move on to the divisions of the nervous system. Nervous system is divided into three main divisions: central nervous system, autonomic nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. Autonomic nervous system consists of sympathetic and the parasympathetic neurons. And the peripheral nervous system consists of the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. I hope all of you are aware that nervous system is made up of nervous tissues. So now let's discuss about the components of nervous tissues. Nervous tissues are made up of three important components, and the first one is the neuron. Neuron is also called as the nerve cell. It is the longest cell which is there in our entire body, and it is the structural and functional unit of our nervous system. Neurons are highly specialized cells which are there in our body, and they transmit the nerve impulse. So the main and important function of the neuron is to help in nerve impulse transmission. Nerve impulse transmission is nothing but the process by which the message from the external stimuli will get passed on from one neuron to the next. The next component of the nervous tissue are the glial cells or neuroglia. So neuroglia are also known as the glial cells. So the main function of the neuroglial cells is to just help in supporting the nervous system. So these are actually non-exciting cells, which means they do not have any role to play in nerve impulse transmission. Their only work is to support the nervous system. The next is the nerve fibers. Nerve fibers are nothing but axons of neurons. So the axons of neurons are only known as nerve fibers. So these nerve fibers will get bundled up together and they will form a nerve. Now let's look into the structure of neuron in detail. The first part of the neuron which we are going to be discussing is the dendrite. Dendrites are also known as dendrons. Dendrons are highly branched and these are cytoplasmic processes. The reason why they are known as cytoplasmic processes is because they arise from the cytoplasm of the neuron. And the function of dendrite is to receive the stimulus and it transfers the impulse towards the cyton. So cyton is also called as cell body, perikaryon or soma. Okay, so it has got three different names. So cyton is also known as cell body, perikaryon and soma. It has a central nucleus and cyton consists of the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm of the cyton is known as the neuroplasm. Alright, so the cyton has the cytoplasm and that is known as the neuroplasm. So the cytoplasm consists of a lot of fine granules which are known as the Nissel's granules. The function of the Nissel's granules is to help in protein synthesis. Like all the other cells, neurons are going to have a lot of cell organelles in them. Okay, so you all very well know every cell consists of its own cell organelles. So like all of the other cells, our neuron also consists of a lot of cell organelles. So it consists of cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi, ribosomes and endoplasmic reticulum. But it does not have one very important cell organelle, and that is the centrioles. So the neuron which is there in our body do not have one very important cell organelle, and that is the centriole. So you must have studied in your lower classes about cell division. So for cell division to take place, one cell organelle is very much important, and that is the centriole. So I said neurons which are there in our body do not have centrioles, which mean the neurons which are there in our body do not have the ability to divide. So neurons, they never divide at all. I hope this is clear, and this is very important. Alright, so they may ask you questions like which cell organelle is not present in the neuron. So you must be able to tell without any doubt that it is the centriole. And what is the reason for centriole not being present? As the neuron do not have the ability to divide, there is no need for the centrioles to be present. Alright, now the next part of the neuron is the axon. Axon is also a cytoplasmic process. As you can see, the axon is also arising from the cytoplasm of the neuron. Axon is single elongated slender projection. An axon consists of a plasma membrane which is known as the axolemma. An axon consists of cytoplasm which is known as axoplasm. Now here you are not supposed to get confused with axoplasm and the neuroplasm. So the cytoplasm of axon is called axoplasm, and the cytoplasm of the cell body is called as neuroplasm. Alright, so both are different terms. So please don't get confused with axoplasm and neuroplasm. Alright, so axoplasm is the cytoplasm of axon and neuroplasm is the cytoplasm of cell body. Okay, now axon may be covered with myelin sheath or it may not have a myelin sheath. So myelin sheath is a covering around the axon. Alright, and this myelin sheath, if it is present, it will break at regular intervals, and that is known as the nodes of Ranvier. Now the last part of the neuron is the nerve ending. So nerve ending is also known as axon terminal. So in the nerve ending, one very important function takes place, and that is the transfer of impulse from one neuron to the next neuron. So at the tip of the nerve ending, there is a knob-like structure which is called as the synaptic knob. And this synaptic knob consists of chemicals called as neurotransmitters. So with the help of these chemicals only, the nerve impulse will get transmitted from one neuron to the next neuron. And the gap between the two neurons are known as synapse. Alright, now let's quickly summarize the structure of neuron once again. So the structure of neuron consists of the dendrites. So the dendrites are also known as dendrons, and these are cytoplasmic processes. The main function of dendrite is to receive the stimulus and it sends it into the cyton. So cyton is also known as perikaryon, soma or cell body. It consists of a nucleus and it also has the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm of the cyton is known as the neuroplasm, and it has a lot of granules which are known as the Nissel's granules. So the Nissel's granules play a very important role in the protein synthesis. And like all the other cells, neuron also consists of a lot of cell organelles, but it does not have one very important cell organelle, and that is the centriole. As it does not have the centriole, neuron cannot perform one very important function, and that is cell division. Okay, so neurons do not have the ability to divide. Now the next part is the axon. Axon is also a cytoplasmic process as it is arising from the cytoplasm of the neuron. Now axon consists of the plasma membrane, which is known as the axolemma, and the cytoplasm of axon is known as the axoplasm. Alright, now axon is covered with the myelin sheath and it breaks at regular intervals, which is known as the nodes of Ranvier. Now axon consists of Schwann cells. So we didn't discuss about the Schwann cells. So listen carefully. So Schwann cells are very important cells which helps to produce the myelin sheath. Okay. So Schwann cells are only going to produce the myelin sheath around the axon. Next, the last part of the neuron is the axon terminal. The axon terminal is also known as the nerve ending. So nerve ending consists of knob-like structures which are known as synaptic knob, and the synaptic knob consists of chemicals which are known as neurotransmitters. So through the neurotransmitters only, the message or the nerve impulse is going to get transmitted from one neuron to the next neuron. And the gap between the two neurons are known as synapses. Now let's discuss about the classification of neurons. So there are two classifications which we need to know when we study about the neurons. So one is based on the structure. So based on the structure, the neurons are classified into unipolar, bipolar and multipolar neurons. And the next classification is based on the function of the neuron. So based on the function, the neurons are classified into sensory neuron, motor neuron and the mixed neuron. So let's take up each of this in detail and study. So when we talk about the classification of neurons based on their structure, I just told you that they are divided into three: unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron and the multipolar neuron. So when we talk about unipolar neuron, the cyton of the unipolar neuron gives rise to only one nerve process. So that one nerve process is going to act as the axon as well as the dendron. So this is known as a unipolar neuron. When we talk about the bipolar neuron, here the cyton is going to give rise to two nerve processes, where one nerve process will act as the axon and the other nerve process will act as the dendron. And the third is the multipolar neuron. In case of multipolar neuron, the cyton gives rise to many dendrons and only one axon, and this is known as multipolar neuron. Unipolar neuron are present in case of early embryos, but they are not found in adults. Bipolar neurons are present in the retina of the eye and they are also present in the olfactory epithelium. Multipolar neurons are present in the cerebral cortex of the brain. Now let's go on to the classification based on the function. So based on the function, the neurons are classified into sensory neuron, motor neuron and the mixed neuron. So sensory neurons will transmit the impulse from the sense organs to the central nervous system. So sensory neurons will take the message from the sense organs like eyes, nose, ears to the brain, to the central nervous system. The motor neuron carries the message from the central nervous system to the effector organ. The effector organ could be a gland, it could be a muscle cell or it could be an organ. Okay, so motor neuron carries the message from the central nervous system to the effector organ. And the association neuron or the mixed neuron is going to transfer the messages between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. Association neuron is also known as the interneuron. Okay, so this classification is based on their function, from where to where they are going to transfer the message. So based on that, we have this classification. Now let's go on to the nerve fibers. Now there are two types of nerve fibers. One is unmyelinated neuron and the other is myelinated neuron. So these two types of neurons are based on whether they have the myelin sheath or not. If they have the myelin sheath, it is known as the myelinated neuron, and if they do not have the myelinated sheath, it is known as the unmyelinated neuron. Myelinated neuron is also called as medullated neuron, and unmyelinated neuron is also called as non-medullated neuron. Alright. So, in case when we talk about nerve impulse conduction, it is always faster in the myelinated neuron because the transmission of nerve impulse will take place only in the nodes of Ranvier. Alright, but in unmyelinated neuron, it's not like that. In unmyelinated neuron, the impulse will travel along the entire length of the axon. So the rate of transmission of nerve impulse is faster in myelinated neuron when compared to non-myelinated neuron. I hope you understood the discussion about neurons. Thank you.